Alright, I just wanted to go over this video. I've been an Asmondgold watcher for years. I'd say in the last year, I've really grown to love his content. And no, I'm not the kind of person that worships everything he says. And I'll be honest, there are takes that he has that I just disagree with. But overall, like majority overall, I find that he's very sound in everything that he says. He can back things up. And I kind of wanted to give my opinion today as basically a nobody streamer, a low streamer. I barely get 10 people on a good day. Um, I wanted to give my take on everything that he said, and just go to show, like, watching this original response, and I'm going to skip through it as I go through. Watching this response video, seeing how much people attacked him, it really bugged me. So I want to give my personal point of view from someone who's not a millionaire, someone who's just a regular schmo who tries to stream because, I mean, obviously I do it because I want the money, but I like the money as a benefit, but I actually do it because I want to meet people. I want to talk about games. Like, I agree with him that if I became a millionaire tomorrow, I would keep streaming anyway. Like, I myself, I'm an introvert, but I absolutely love talking to people on the internet. Um, that being said, I am a little under the weather, so you might hear me cough every once in a while or sniffle. Excuse me. I've been trying to get better so I can make this video, and I'm tired of waiting. I just want to do it. But anyway, let's go.
That's my perspective going into this. The big difference is the monetary difference between other jobs and being a streamer. Being paid a lot of money doesn't make problems go away. Being paid a lot of money makes it easier to deal with problems. There's actually studies that have been done on this, and I can show you the graph. I'll do it now because I think people are going to disagree, because for a lot of people, and this is really the reality here, is that I'm preaching to a very tough audience, arguing my point of view, because for the majority of people that are watching me and disagreeing and getting angry, the biggest problem in their life is money. So for them, the idea that you can't, like, that money isn't the problem, well, this is going to very much upset them, because they look at it from the perspective of, like, well, if I had money, then this would totally solve all my problems. And I think if you work at a many jobs, that's absolutely true. And I want to show that with a graph. So let me go ahead and do that. These are some.
See, here's the thing. He's totally right. Like, he makes this comment in a lot of other videos when he's talking about streaming and earning money. At the end of the day, when you have money, you develop new problems. So now that you can get rid of all of your worldly problems when it comes to money, like debt, housing, car, insurance, everything that is important. But at the end of the day, when you get rid of those, we're humans. You find out there's more problems beyond that. It's actually why they say money doesn't buy happiness. It certainly can help, but it doesn't actually buy it. Because at the end of the day, you could have millions of dollars and solve all of your physical problems in life and things that need to be taken care of. But you're still going to have a slew of other problems, whether it be family related, friend related, health related, whatever the case may be. He's totally right. He's right about like the EMS worker, the cops, and all that. Like, I don't think as a streamer you even come close to the stress level of like a police officer, a nurse, an EMS, a firefighter, whatever the case may be. But when it comes to being a streamer, especially someone on the low end, on my side, we're taught, like, if you look up tips and tricks and things that you're supposed to be using to grow your channel, whether it be self-promotion or whatever, there's a lot of things you have to do that are very tough to do, especially if you're just not getting the hooks into people, I should say. For example, when you're streaming, even if you're streaming to nobody, they talk about how you should talk anyway. Sort of like vlog yourself or talk about different topics. And I can tell you firsthand, from my point of view, like, you do that for 7-8 hours, it's taxing. It really is. Like, you have to do it to help, not only promote yourself as a stream and seem active, but you're also doing it so that you seem talkative, so people want to engage with you, because you're supposed, as he said before, you're creating entertainment for others. Like, the consumer, the viewer is not there for you. You're there for them. and I'm not saying like at all that it's harder than in any of these other jobs. It's just I can understand like where Hassan and Asmondgold are trying to defend, because it is difficult. It is in its own way, its own type of stress and tiredness. I don't think he's wrong, and people getting upset with him and like, well, you're a millionaire, so it doesn't matter. I don't think that applies. It really doesn't. Like it doesn't change the fact that he's out there to entertain and really just make people happy. Let's get further.
My house burned down on Valentine's Day. More money would solve my problem. Well, do you think that I'm taught? Like, I wonder, like, whenever I said that, do you think that I was talking about your situation? Do you think that I was referring to the fact that your house burnt down? Of course, I'm not talking about your situation. There are a lot of, like, I mean, again, this is what I'm talking about, like, with a dishonest interpretation of things. And I think it's more than not dishonest. It is something that people are intentionally misunderstanding. So this is a person who's unhappy about what I said. What have I said that you think you've typed it 7 times now?
It's true. It's true. People tend to focus so much on themselves instead of looking outward. Like generally, when you're having a conversation like this or a debate, as I said, generally, it's in generalizations. You're trying to take the entire group of people and talk about them as a whole. And it's kind of one of the problems with just the way society is right now. It's like we can't do that. We're not allowed to talk about people as a whole. Apparently, you have to focus on individuals and their problems. And we can't do that. There's no way to do that. That's impossible. Like, if we focused on every individual's, problems, stuff like that, we'd never get anything done. No, just never. So, obviously, excuse me, obviously when he was talking about that, he wasn't trying to, like, he's not saying, like, oh, well, you and your problems, your house burnt down is not a big deal, or, you can't afford to live and you work 2 jobs, your problem's not important. He's never said that. He's not saying it's not important. It's just in a generalized, setting. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. My problems, his problems, their problems, they don't matter. They really don't. Doesn't mean we don't care, but they just don't matter.
Thank you for numbering them. Now I can read it. So what part of what I said is inaccurate? Like, I most of the guys here that watch my stream and that watch my content, like, we're like 30. I don't want to have to treat people like 15-year-olds. I just want to talk about real shit and have honest conversations. And I'm not going to mince words or try to avoid certain topics because I know that might trigger some people that are, like, emotionally unstable. So what about this, the part where you've been defending being rich for days now because of a bad take you said years ago? What did I say that was inaccurate? What did I say? Because it's like, it seems like it would be easy for you, right? I mean, you've been watching now for I Am Burb. Okay. Okay. The Privat servers, streamers kill servers. It's a classic WoW viewer. Okay, so he's a bird, guys. So what part of what I said was wrong? Is it just me, or all the worst takes come from chatters who are fairly new or new followers and subs? Yeah, that's because the old ones have gotten banned, and the new ones haven't gotten banned yet. That's why. I mean, it seems to me like you've been watching for... Actually, I mean, no, you've typed this like fucking... Jesus, man. Like, did it really upset you? That much? Did it really upset you that much? I mean, it seems like it would be very easy for you to explain what I said that was inaccurate. Now, I think the reason why... Oh, no, you just typed. Okay, let me read it real quick. I saw your name. You literally think it's more stressful to be rich than to be poor. Okay, well, I guess I can respond to you very quickly and just get this out of the way. No, I don't. Does that help? You quit your job to go up in your room and stream, so you didn't have to do regular shit jobs. So when you're in the position of all set up and claim us regular folk have better work life, it's upsetting. I don't think that anybody's talking about whether they have a better work life or not. I think that it's very... I mean, there's like a million different kinds of jobs, and I'm sure, like, for example... Like working in some jobs is like infinitely more like stressful than like working in other jobs, for example. Sure. Like I don't think you can really make a blanket statement one way or another. Like now that I've explained my perspective here, do you have anything else to say? Because we've gone off on such a tangent. We're 2 minutes into the video, guys.
I mean, this part bugs me the most because people are basically throwing that, well, you're rich, so you don't have the right to talk about these things. And the reality is, he made it doing what he loved. I mean, yeah, he had help. Like, he made YouTube videos first, and then he blew up on Twitch. But how he did it was irrelevant. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. He did it. He made it. There's no excuse. Excuse me. There's no excuse at all. You're basically hating on him for succeeding. I think it's crazy that you're basically you're complaining, oh, you think rich people can't be sad. Well, everyone there is thinking, oh, rich people can't have opinions. Just because you're jealous of their wealth doesn't mean that they can't have opinions, feelings, and whatever. And that's the problem with society right now. Like, it's all about what everybody else has. And, I'm guilty of this too. Like, as a low streamer, as a fledgling streamer who's struggling, I was doing really well till Christmas, but it hasn't. Probably choice of games. I've been sick lately, thanks to going to Megacon and stuff. And family, but I get jealous of some of my friends who are streamers. Like, I won't sit here and lie. Like, I get jealous. I'll see their numbers; they're doing really well, and I'm playing what I love, and I'm sitting there chatting and doing what I can, and it's not going well. So I'm guilty of the same thing. We're human. We all do this, but at the end of the day, you have to stop and realize, like, okay. He's a person, I can't sit here and hate him for the position he's in because he earned it. You should just be happy for him, and then sit and enjoy his content. Like that's all there is to it. There's no need for this nonsense. There really isn't. Like, the way everyone's acting is pathetic. It really is. Like, if I ever make it someday myself, and when I say make it, I'm never going to make it his level. I'm hoping I can just make enough to survive while doing what I love, because I'm a video game collector and everything, and I just want to keep that going. I'm sure I'll run into people like this, and you know what? I'm just gonna hit them with love and then ban them if I have to, because the reality is it's like we all do what we can to get where we can in life. Like, we all do. There is no. I mean, you get help and stuff like that where you can. But at the end of the day, it's all on you to produce and do what you need to do to survive. And all these comments, all these people that are reacting like this, they're just jealous that they can't do what needs to be done in order to get into the same position. So if you can't do it, just shut up, enjoy the content, and stop talking that way. Like, that's what it comes down to.
2 minutes into the video, we're already doing this. Were you not trying to argue that when someone makes more money that they have more stress than when they didn't make as much money? Whenever I was making $4,000 a month, I was a lot more happy than I am now making less than $1,000. Okay. Well, number one, you need to get off my fucking stream and start figuring out your fucking money, all right? I understand this might not be a popular thing to say, but you got to figure out your fucking money if you're making less than $1,000 a month, man. Like, get your shit together. And trust me, there were many times I was in this position too. Okay, like, let's just be fucking honest. I'm going to address what you're saying in an honest way. No, I am not saying this. Unequivocally, period. No, this is not what I am saying.
The reality is he's totally right. Like, I love when he does this, whether I see it on his streams or see it in a YouTube video. Mostly in YouTube videos, because I'm never up when he's actually streaming. I think it's funny when people hit him with stuff like this, and then he's just straight up honest. Like, he's well aware of his own life. Like, he jokes. I say jokes loosely, but I don't believe it to be true. He jokes that he's a degenerate, okay? The reality is that you could tell after watching his content for a long period of time that he's not a degenerate. Like, obviously, a lot of it is for show, or he chooses to be that way for entertainment purposes. But you can tell the reality is he knows life. If he didn't make all that money doing streaming, you know that this guy would go work jobs that he'd hate. That's the point. Like, you could just tell that he would. Like, he wouldn't be happy about it, but he would do what he'd need to do. And I think that's another thing that people don't realize. When you listen to his advice, you're taking the advice as, oh, this is a rich guy yelling at me. But how do you get rich? Aside from the less than 1% luck chances of lottery, trust fund baby, I don't know, inheritance, stuff like that, which he didn't, any of those, just saying. He got there of his own accord. Thus, his advice is more valuable than you think. And at the end of the day, every time he does this, when he says, go fix your problems, go fix your life, work on yourself, he's totally right. It makes him come off as an ass, but you all take it as like an attack from a rich person. When all it really is he's basically, he's like internet Asmondgold. He's basically, sitting you down and saying, hey, you need to fix your life before you start worrying about mine. And that's the reality. Because somebody here who's making less than $1,000 shouldn't be criticizing the guy who's a millionaire and doing fine. I'm just being totally honest here. I mean, if you want to go into like morals, like if Asmond was slaying little kids or something, then yeah, you could get on him for that on a morality level. But Asmond isn't doing anything wrong, and he's preaching the truth. So you guys just need to grow up and get your crap together. It's the truth.
See that? We stop comparing streaming to other careers. Well, I think that there's comparisons to be made. There's comparisons not to be made. If that's upsetting to you, I think that you're emotionally invested in this argument and you're not really interested in talking about it. I'm just trying to talk about this. That's all.
He's so true. That's another problem. I suffer from this as well when I get into heated discussions with friends and family about video game stuff. I'm very passionate about the all-digital future and how much I hate it. And I know it's coming and I can't stop it. So I myself get emotional about that argument. So I know firsthand what he's talking about. Excuse me. I will say that is part of the problem with the debate. You can't let emotions take control. You have to go at everything logically. So he's totally right in the sense that part of the problem with this whole video and why I felt the need to put in a point of view as someone who's not wealthy and not famous is that you can't, once you let emotions come in, that's it. It ruins the whole debate argument because you cannot beat emotions. Facts don't beat emotions. Technically they do, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. I don't even want to go into that because that's a toxic minefield. Facts only beat facts. Or, fables, whatever the case may be. You can argue facts against facts and come out on top. You can't argue facts and emotions because emotions cannot be defeated. That is how someone feels. You cannot change that. So when people start bringing emotions into a factual conversation, that's it. It's just the conversation falls apart right then and there. You cannot fix it no matter what you do. That's why a lot of times when I talk to people, I can tell that they get emotional things. I just drop it. Or for example, what I said when I started, I get a little bit emotional about the all-digital future because I believe you should own everything you pay for. Once I realize that I'm getting into a point, I'll get emotional with someone because a lot of newer age people, the younger generation, they don't mind all digital. They love having everything right then and there, downloading it. They don't want to deal with discs, cartridges, or whatever. That's fine. I get emotional in those conversations because eventually I can't figure out why I can't get through their heads. Then my emotions come in. Then I stop because I know I can't win with that. It won't work. But yeah, he's totally right. Once emotions come in, the conversation is lost, and that is a big problem with us right now.
That's all he said. So, like, like in video games where, like, you have, like, critical strike, haste, mastery, hit rating, and all of the different stats that, like, accumulate into damage? Okay.
I really love, by the way, I want to point out, I really love this description. And I love when he does this, when he tries to break things down for idiots. But he knows that the idiots know games.
Well, let's say the DPS that that the job of streaming does to you is lower than the DPS that a job of a police officer does to you, or the DPS that like a nurse does to you. But that doesn't mean that maybe streamers might have a higher crit rating in their situation. So I'm not saying that, of course, everything that Hassan said in the clip is completely accurate, but I'm saying that from his own personal experiences it is, and I don't think that anybody can really go and take his own personal experiences away from him.
He said that his job is more draining than any normal job.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's really what Hassan was trying to say, because he was really talking about, and like, also, like, I don't, like, because I've watched Hassan for years. I've known Hassan. I've talked to Hassan. I don't think that's really what he thinks. Now,
that isn't what he thinks. It was just completely taken out of context, and I'm not here trying to defend millionaires or people that I don't even know. It's just one of those things where you don't have to have a huge brain or understand English super well to understand what he said. He specifically was talking about one area of tiredness, stress, whatever the case may be, and how much it affected him. And, excuse me. The reality is, I think he's right. I mean, not so much that it's the highest in the world, but he's right.
Now, maybe he did say that. I think that it was very clear in my mind that wasn't what he intended.
Excluding retail, to be fair.
And life doesn't work like that.
Nope.
If he just had said, my work, what I do right.
I do want to point out, he said excluding retail. Like I said, I'm sorry for my voice. It is because I am sick, but I didn't want to wait to do this anymore. So please make fun of me, forgive me, whatever the case may be. I worked retail for 5 years total. I can tell you right now that one of the biggest streams I ever had was like 15 people. And I know, that's terrible. But having all 15 of them talk and you're responding for hours on end, I kid you not. Like, I've done some serious retail jobs in the past. Trying to keep up with just that many people talking and appeasing, and it's not that I dislike it. I really like it. I want to point that out. But trying to keep up with them while playing a game at the same time, and actually trying to do good at the game and not embarrass yourself. I remember that day when I got off, I crashed. I stumbled a few feet, landed in bed, and I was gone. And I'm not saying that this is the hardest thing in the world. I'm not saying compared to construction workers or anything like that, but I was gone. Just dead tired, sleeping. I remember waking up and I was thinking to myself, why was I that tired? What could have possibly made me that tired? Then I realized it was just everything in the stream. The chatting. I had a blast. I wanted to do it again, and unfortunately it didn't happen again. But still, it was exhausting. So I can already tell you, as a nobody streamer, at the very bottom of the totem pole, who gets, on a good day, 5 people, I know what he's talking about. I know how it feels. Even when I don't get people and I'm chatting basically to myself, it's just as exhausting. And I'm not complaining. I'm not saying that it's anybody's problem. I'm just saying that it's tiring. It really is. There is some merit to what these guys are talking about.
Now, it's extremely draining. You would have just said that. I would have been like, yeah, my man.
But what did he say?
But you said that your job is more draining than any normal real job. No. Fucking no, my guy. It doesn't work like that. The world doesn't work like that. Nothing works like that. But what you're gonna...
Yeah, and I think that they're right. I do. I don't think that Hassan meant it that way. And after listening to the clip, I think that it's kind of obvious that he didn't mean it that way. You can read his mind? No, it's not that I can read somebody's mind.
Here we go again. He's not wrong. It literally, like, I feel like I'm repeating myself. Basic English, you could tell. Like, yeah, he might have taken it too far by saying that the social battery and the stress was higher than anything else. Because I agree. Any type of public servant, anybody in a hospital, anybody in a hospice, nursing home, they probably have it tougher. Like, I've worked in a nursing home for 2 years, so I'll say, yeah, they probably do. But saying that it's one of the highest, I wouldn't disagree with that in a heartbeat. Especially as someone who's worked many retails. I've worked fast food. I've worked extremely physical jobs. He's not wrong. He really isn't. Excuse me. When I started streaming, like I said, I was not expecting the days that I'd get off and just be zonked. Like, I even feel silly saying it right now, because, like, your brain tells you, like, it's such an easy job until you do it, until you actually stream, and then you realize, wow, this actually is tiring. It's almost like you can't get away in life without everything being tiring to you in one way or another, whether it be accounting, a desk job, an art, you know, like if you take a career at art, like all of it gets at you at some point. It's pretty crazy.
So, of course, you always have the luxury of being able to take time off, but whenever you're not out there competing and putting yourself out there, other people are, and you know how, so, I mean, especially with like social media, right? Like, you have to be posting all the time. And of course you can take time off. Absolutely. But there is a risk to taking that time off. And I'm not saying that it's not a privilege to be able to do that, but what I am saying is that it doesn't come with a cost.
Turn it off after 5, but because they want to make more money.
Yeah.
He is right. And especially from someone in my point of view, like in my position, I'm trying to get out there. I'm trying to get known. I'm trying to make friends, build up a Discord, have discourse with many gamers, and so on and so forth. So, for someone like me, it's even worse. Like, it in his position, it's more like he might lose out on making money. You know, if he takes 3 or 4 days off or whatever, you could argue that that doesn't matter. But it's all about staying relevant and staying active, because people get bored super quickly. Like, they get tired of something super quickly, or they move on to where their friends go, or whatever the case may be. And doing like streaming and content creation, it's not just about being good or entertaining. It's also literally about just staying relevant and then doing it constantly. The day you stop doing it is the day you quit. You know, like for me, whenever I'm sick like this, like right now, it sucks because when I stream, I know my stream quality's down, and I could just take the day off or two, and I've done that before to rest. But then in the back of your head, you're always thinking, well, that's another day I could have found that niche or found that group of people that really could have helped me grow. You know, like it's every day you don't do something, you feel like you've had a massive loss in this you know, in this career, in this business, whatever the case, however you want to call it. It's just the cold hard truth about it. You really don't want to miss out. So like he's right in the sense that on his point of view as a streamer, you don't want to miss out. Like for Abba and Preach, I'm sure they've had days where they just don't want to post a video or a response or something, but they do it anyway. Why? Because it's their business. They have to make that money. You know what I mean? It's just how life is.
They keep streaming, and then they want to get up here and then complain about how hard it is. Mm-hmm. Who here gets to choose their fucking hours at work?
Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people.
The fact that you guys even have the goal to compare yourselves to regular people when your extra hours of labor are rewarded with more and more money is insane.
Well, I think most people get paid overtime, to be fair. Yeah, I mean, if anybody is working extra and you're not being paid for that, you're not getting paid overtime. Not salary? Oh, yeah, that's definitely true. But if you're being paid hourly, you do get paid extra. No, you dumb fuck? No, that So if you're being, and also like, I don't know about the country you're in, but like if you're in the US and you're being made to work over your hours that you're supposed to work, you need to file a complaint and you could maybe have a lawsuit and then you wouldn't have to work and maybe you could have time streaming.
He's totally right about this. So chat put him in a corner. You could see clear as day how negative they were. The moment they tried to attack him because, yeah, streaming longer does make you more money. But you're also putting in more work. And then you saw how he immediately was like, well, there's overtime and stuff like that. And the chat just started slamming him with no. He's totally right. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know about any other country. You know, I'm sure that some of the bigger third world countries have laws just like the U.S. If not, I'm sorry. But in the U.S., other than salary, which salary comes with its own things. Like most salary gigs, if you're doing a salary gig and you're having to work like 90 hours, you probably went into that knowing that, and there's probably some kind of pay thing, or like you're making so much money as salary, like you kind of knew what you were getting yourself into. But most hourly jobs, they cannot force you to work overtime. They cannot. I would know. I worked many hourly jobs in my lifetime. They can't force you. They can ask you. They can't fire you if you don't. There are laws against this stuff, and just the sheer amount of people in chat that attacked him for this, that they were just like, no, you're wrong, saying things like, oh, my job makes me work beyond, it doesn't pay. They're lying. Maybe in another country which we don't have any control over, if it's that one, I'm sorry, it is what it is, can't change that. Or they just don't know. I actually think it's the third one. I think they just don't know. They just assume. We live in a world right now where a lot of people we see are always working. I don't mean that badly. I mean that we see our friends, our family, everybody we know is always working. So we just assume that everybody's always working hard, everybody's always working hard in overtime. The reality is most people are not working as hard as you think. And I don't mean that as a disrespect. I just think we value our own work to such a high degree. I mean, I know people that work like 20 hours a week, 15 hours a week, and they think they work hard. So I'm not trying to dog people's work, because work is hard. It's just people need to step back for a minute and really realize what they're arguing about. He was totally right, and he kind of got thrown under the bus on this one. He did clarify himself with, like, you know, the country and stuff. I apologize. But at the end of the day, you almost nowhere forces you to work where you can't. Yeah, there's salary, but salary is a weird one, because places that do make you do salary, you kind of go into those situations knowing, okay, I might work over 40 hours, blah, blah, blah. But generally, your salary is really high, or they might have benefits. So, I don't know.
That's illegal. So yeah, not everyone can afford a lawyer, bro. You're so out of touch. So what you're saying is that because some people can't afford a lawyer and they can't get anything done, actually, to be fair, if this was actually true, any lawyer would take this case pro bono, which means that they would take it for free, and then just take a percentage of the settlement money, because they would know that they could win this case very easily and get millions of dollars from the company. So that's actually not true, and it's not logical. And you could easily talk to any lawyer and figure this out immediately.
You don't even need to be a genius in the United States to know that. You could have never searched the internet, never watched television, and just lived basic life here, like a city or something, and you easily would have known this fact already. Most lawyers, lawyers are out to help you win. They generally just don't make anything unless you win. And in a situation like this, even if you couldn't afford one, they're gonna take it for free and just take some of your winnings, because they know they're gonna be able to win. So, like, that was a good defense. That was a really good defense that he came up with there. And it kind of goes to show, like, they talk about streamers being out of touch, but the reality is So a lot of people in general are just out of touch. They just want to complain to complain. And I think it's crazy.
Difference is you're millionaires that decide to work more because you want to. Well, what would it matter? Why would that matter? So if I'm talking about, so for example, like if I'm talking about, and I think this is really what the problem is that people have with this topic, is that people are unwilling to accept that anybody that makes a lot of money is allowed to have any problems with their job. And I think that that's just generally the reality. It's that people are not willing to accept, and they are not sympathetic, and they don't care about what a person who's making a lot of money is having. And I don't think that any actual logical investigation into my perspective will reveal me being wrong. And I invite anyone out there, any content creator that wants to farm views, please logically investigate my position and then provide the ways that I am inaccurate in what I'm saying. I have no problem putting myself out there, because that's, see, the thing is, like, I don't have a problem with people making videos about this or getting mad about this or anything, because I do think that I am logically right. I think that what I am saying is true. And while there are the existence of jobs that do take advantage of people, these jobs are generally seen as being very, very bad, oftentimes illegal, and there are lawsuits that happen all the time. And also, I think that there are a lot of people that whenever they do work over, how many of you guys get overtime pay?
The reality is, he's right. I don't see how anybody could come up and argue this fact. I just don't. At the end of the day, people just think, like, I think I used to think this way too. I used to think, oh, look, that guy's rich and he doesn't like his job and he shouldn't complain, because I wouldn't complain. The reality is, we would. We would complain. Probably for the same reasons. Whatever is upsetting him, he's a human, probably would upset us too. God, this goes back to that just, money doesn't solve everything. It helps. It really does. But it doesn't solve everything. Whether you have $1 to your name or $1 million, if somebody punches you in the face, you're going to be upset. That's all there is to it.
I was talking to like Emmy and Tectone about it. Imagine like you go to the store and the cashier is talking to you about how much they hate their job. This would be kind of uncomfortable, right? Imagine you're getting your hair cut and you're having somebody tell you, like, as they're cutting your hair, how much they hate cutting hair and how frustrating it is for them and how much they don't want to do it. This would probably be weird and you wouldn't like that, right? Yeah, I don't want to hear it. So I actually don't think that this is a class barrier thing. I think that it's something that is just as simple as people want the monkey to do the thing that they're paying the monkey to do. That's all there is to it. And whether it's streaming, whether it's playing, a sport.
I think he's right. Like, at the end of the day, you don't want to see people complain. And I'll admit, I have complained on my streams before. Being a lowbie, excuse me, it's kind of hard. But yeah, people don't want that. They don't really, they come for entertainment. They come to, de-stress or enjoy something they want to see, whether it be game-wise or have a conversation. At the end of the day, they don't really want to hear about your problems because they have their own problems. And he's stated this before in many videos, and he's right. Like, people have their own problems. They just don't care. And I shouldn't say they don't care. They do. Like, especially if you follow someone long enough, you're going to care about their problems because they're a part of your life. But you don't care in the sense that, say my house burns down. You're not going to sit here and open your wallet if you followed me for years and try to rebuild my house for me. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to pay for that. But you care in the sense that so long as it doesn't deal with money, you care about that person. You have sympathy and empathy and everything for that person. That's just how we are as humans.
And this is how most people internalize this and whether or not they want to hear about your suffering. Mm-hmm. How difficult is your job? How well do you get compensated for it? If your job is extremely difficult and hard to manage, but you get paid peanuts, complain as you want.
I don't think so. I think that actually I don't agree with that, because if you look at, for example, like culturally, I think that culturally people definitely look down on construction workers. They look down on sanitation workers. Absolutely, that's true. And they get paid shit, and they have to work harder than anybody else. I think fast food workers are the most true as well. 100%. So I don't think that society actually has this perspective. Bad take, I think. Construction is very well paid. It depends. But yeah, in some cases that's the case. In some cases it's not. There are a lot of question marks in the chat. People are unhappy about this. Okay. Let me ask you a different question that has the same outcome. Whenever you were in high school, how many of you were made to think that if you didn't go to college, you kind of just didn't really make it?
This is important because excuse me, as a 37, 36, I always forget my age, one of those numbers, 37, let's go with the older one, 37-year-old person, my entire school career, all the way, I mean, I did some college, but my whole schooling thing was if you did not go to college, no matter what, you would fail at life, no matter what. There was no, you had a chance, you could do something else. No, it was, you went to school, you had to go to college, you could not make it as an adult if you did not go to college. It was, they made sure to make you know that you were a complete failure if you did not go to college, no matter what. Like, it's crazy because you look at everything they teach in schools now, and this is a topic to debate a whole other day, but I feel like schools are pretty useless nowadays. You learn so many things, you know, Pythagorean theorem, PEMDAS, all these things that you just don't need. You just don't need anymore. And we could argue, it's like, oh, well, what if you lose your cell phone and this, that, and the other, but there are so many calculators around you, for example. Even if you lost your phone, you could literally get a calculator from someone else. We're talking you have to be in a catastrophic situation to not be able to do math, period. And even then, I would argue that if you're in that kind of situation, you got bigger problems than figuring out some giant math problem. So, you know. The reality is he's right. He's right. He's totally right. It just, he's proving his point by the fact that we were always taught you had to go to college, and if you didn't, you amounted to nothing.
The point is that in society, people look down on those jobs. And I actually don't think society has a genuine respect for how difficult the job is versus how much people get paid. And I think the evidence for that is the fact that people generally look down on fast food workers, and I think working in fast food and working in the kitchen is harder than almost anything. Working in the kitchen, in my opinion, is harder than streaming. Like, there is almost no other job that I would rather, like, I would rather do almost any other job in the entire world than work in a kitchen. It's soul crushing. Yeah, it's fucking brutal. And nobody respects those people at all. Are we really going to pretend that people respect fast food workers?
They don't. They really don't. He's totally right. I don't know why people are arguing this at all. In fact, I even go so far as disagree with him. There's people that like it. I have worked 3 fast food kitchen jobs in my lifetime. One of them being way more physical than you'd think. They're absolutely terrible. They're trash. Nobody cares about each other. I don't want to hear any arguments that people do because those jobs can be so stressing and taxing on your body that you do what you need to do to get through your day. Sometimes that involves screwing another employee over. And the reality is that's how it happens. Like, that's what happens. I'm sure there's some perfect workplace in some McDonald's or some Taco Bell or whatever the case may be. But those places suck. They really suck. Like, they don't pay enough. They really don't. Like, if you really want people to give their all in a job like that, you need to pay more. You just need to pay more. That's the reality. I don't want to go into a rant on it because working a few of those jobs just, they're soul crushing. Then, not to mention, it's the kind of thing you don't want to tell someone. You don't want to tell someone, yeah, hey, I work at McDonald's. You know, that never goes well. So, let's not argue with him here. We know he's right.
Is someone aware? No. I have no problem. Try working on an oil rig. Oh yeah, no, you're definitely right. There are jobs that are harder. I mean, did I say it was the hardest? I probably shouldn't have said that working in a kitchen is the hardest thing you can do. No, I don't think it's the hardest thing you can do. But it is incredibly physically taxing. And I think that it is more physically taxing than the vast majority of jobs. Of course, there are jobs that are more physically taxing than working in a kitchen. But I do think that working in a kitchen is in like, it's like if you want to have like a tier list, it's in like the A tier. And if not in the A tier, in some places, it's probably in the low S tier.
I want to point something out here real quick, that they attacked him as they do, which everybody has their right to, in terms of when you're trying to break down what someone's saying. You know, I have friends in real life that are the same way. They like to like nitpick at every word you choose, so if you don't choose the right one, or you say something a certain way, even though you might have implied it another way, they'll attack you for it. So I'm used to this. I want to point out something. You're comparing an oil rig job to a kitchen job, like let's say McDonald's or whatever. The reality is, the oil rig job is harder, physically. Obviously, it's more dangerous and whatnot. The people on the oil rig want to be there, though. Generally, the people that are working at the oil rig, they want to do that job. They want that massive level of pay. Because that's not a cheap job. You don't go there making minimum wage. You go to oil rigs making 90... excuse me, $90,000 to $100,000, you know, for like 3-month stint or something like that. Whereas the kitchen-based job like McDonald's or working a crappy restaurant for minimum wage, you're generally doing that because you have no choice, because you need a job and you have to be there. There's a little bit of a difference there. Like, I think that context is left out. Like, I'm not saying that the oil rig job loses to the kitchen job in terms of difficulty or, you know, safety, but I am saying that when you're trying to compare the two, you got to kind of look at the whole story here. You got one job that pays a ton, where you have another job that pays crap, and generally the people there are not there by choice. They're there because they have to be, because they were looking for a job. So I don't know. I just don't like how those are compared, because, you know, obviously a lot of people, if you just took those two jobs alone in the world and you took a handful of people, a majority of people might gravitate towards the kitchen job because they just don't want to risk their lives, you know. But as a generalization, but if you like expand it to the whole world, I think you'd be surprised how many people would choose the oil. Like, I myself, I'm not physically fit in any way, but I would, if I had the choice between just those two, I'm going to choose the oil rig, because I'm going to choose to make more. And yeah, suffer a lot harder, but it's better than suffering and making nothing. Like, that's the reality of it. And I feel like they're disingenuous comparisons. Like, it just doesn't. If you're going to go on generalizations, you got to take into account, like, the full situation of it all. Like, people that are going to oil rigs are choosing to go to oil rigs, whereas people going into the kitchens a lot of time. Well, when he says kitchens, I think we all know he's referring to minimum wage jobs, like fast food places or restaurants that have, like, minimum wage things. Those all suck. He's totally right that it's S tier. There's nothing wrong with his opinion on that.
I said that with streaming. Absolutely. Nobody gives a fuck how you feel. And it's the same thing. Like, so you can make, and this might seem like a bit of whiplash because I'm talking about like two separate things, right? So like I can talk about like the ethical world that I think is best and that I try to live by in the cases that I can, which is trying to listen and understand how other people feel and trying to, like, basically compromise with people by understanding them and taking them at face value and trying to empathize with what people's perspective is. I think this is a good thing. However, back over here in reality, outside of my own ethical utopia, nobody gives a fuck.
He's totally right. Again, Like, I can't disagree with him at all. Whether it's about caring about other people's jobs or, his high take on gaming, for example, we don't care about the developers. They're getting paid to make something for us to buy. Like, there's nothing wrong with what he said. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Like, we live in such a weird age now where we got games like Pal World and Helldivers that are cheaper games made by smaller companies that are absolutely running shit circles around bigger companies' games. There's no excuse. That's why we don't care. Like, at the end of the day, just do what you need to do. When it comes to gaming companies, just make a good game, and we'll buy your stuff. It's the same as caring when it comes to streaming. Just make good content. We'll watch the content. It's really that simple. That's all it comes down to. It's crazy that people do not realize this.
That's the thing, is developers need to stop. Like, nobody gives a fuck about, it's so hard. Shut the fuck up, pussy. Stop crying.
Yep.
Either do it or you don't. Holy fuck. Just that nobody cares about, it's so hard. This is... Bro,
True.
you're talking to people that work in construction? And you're going to say that it's hard? Your job could be more demanding than that. I don't know. But guess what? To them, it's not.
But now when it's you guys, like, we want... And you expect sympathy for what reason?
No, I don't expect it at all, and I know that I won't get it. No, he's totally right. This is a complete contradiction of what I'm saying. And that's what I was talking about before, with like how I think things should be versus how I think things are.
This is really important. He's totally right. He never once said that he should get sympathy. He just wishes people would. And I think we all, on some level, wish we could like help one another. It's kind of like coping and getting through things. We all wish that we could make somebody's lives easier or something like that without too much detriment to our own lives. You know what I mean? Like, that's why characters like Batman and Tony Stark being philanthropists, throwing money left and right to these organizations to help people homeless or whatever the case may be. That's why they're so appealing to us, because they're fictional characters that can do that in a way that we only wish we could. And I think this is really important because the way they're taking this information, they're trying to attack the streamers as a whole. And I think the truth is, we're aware that it doesn't really matter. That our feelings and stuff don't matter. Like, we're aware of this. And Asmond knows that. He even said at the start of his rant that Asmond knew it. And it's just one of those things. Like, we all know how life is, and we all know what matters. And I think it would be nice if we cared about each other in a way that you could be, like, empathetic with everyone, whether it's someone who works at McDonald's or someone who works for the tax service. But, I mean, in this day and age, most of the time, it's the jobs like... I wouldn't say construction. I think it depends on the person. Like, I'm greatly appreciative of construction workers, because without them, there's no infrastructure, there's no buildings, there's no, anything. I'm madly respectful of construction workers, plumbers, electricians, and of course the civil service, police, fire. Mad respect. It's nothing I could do as a person. I couldn't do it. So I have mad respect for them. And I feel like most people have a respect for, like, the civil service people. But it would be nice if we could live in a world where we could actually share that empathy with everyone, but we can't. It is what it is.
And, like, in my opinion, I find it to be problematic that people think that way, but I also know that that's true. Does that make sense? I'll respond to some comments here. Love your ability to do a complete 180 when faced with major backlash. When at-level content creators contradict your opinions. Way to walk back on your points. Never punch up, but it's easy to punch down. What did I say that was inaccurate? You literally just said you contradicted yourself, so accept that and stop digging? No, so basically what I'm saying is that I think that people are being unreasonable for saying that a person can't complain about the way, or seriously, yes, sir, seems hypocritical. Of course, there are a lot of things that I take advantage of in life that are hypocritical. Like, for example, I think slavery is bad, and I have no problem consuming content that is made through slavery because I don't really care about it that much. And I think that we all do that, like Pow World, stuff like that. And it's like, for example, I think stealing is bad, but I would have no problem pirating music. I think speeding is bad, but I speed regularly. Not too fast, though, by the way. So, yeah. And so I think that really, I get what you're saying, but you have to look at it from my perspective as well. And I think that we all do this. People just affirmed Asmond.
He's totally right, by the way. Like, he's gone over this before in other videos. Like, people, you complain and have the high ground and try to throw people higher than you under the bus, but, like, we all buy cell phones. We all indulge in nice things that are made by people that are less fortunate than us. Like, the moment you buy those products, you're no better than the people you're complaining about. Like, we all do this. He brought up a good point about Power World and slavery, for example, and it's like, it's not that we all want to go and rewind time and bring slavery back and be evil, but at the same time, we enjoy certain things. All of us do. Doesn't matter your race, your color. Doesn't matter where you're from. These are just things somehow in human nature that we at least enjoy on like a subconscious level. I don't know. I'm not an expert at this sort of thing. He's totally right. Like, there's a reason why Power World blew up. And it wasn't just because it was like Pokemon. It was because it just filled a lot of voids. Like, I myself, I'm a massive Pokemon fan. I still can't believe I liked Power World because I'll be the first one to say it is nothing like Pokemon. It just isn't. It's the only thing it has in common is monsters that can be caught. After that, it is a completely different game. So, just everyone needs to get off their high horse and realize, like he said before in the past, we are all gifted. We are all privileged. If you're, I apologize. If you're here on a stream or streaming or giving subs or giving bits or giving gifts or making donations, you're privileged. You're part of the privileged. Yes, there's different levels of privileges. Yes, everybody has different amounts of money, but you're privileged. You have a good life if you are able to waste time watching someone else play a video game or chat or do whatever the case may be. You have a good life. You could complain all you want, but in the tier of crappy life, good life, and all that, if you're subbing and gift subbing and paying bits and donations to people, you're probably living a decent life. You're probably doing okay. Now, when I say doing okay, I don't mean rich at all. I just mean you got your ducks in order and you're privileged. Like, there are so many billions of people on this planet that can't do that. So, excuse me again. Just need to stop attacking people. But complaining on the internet is probably one of the most privileged things you could do as a person. It has to be.
It's like, for example, if the iPhones suddenly got more expensive because we started using ethically sourced cobalt, well, people would be furious about that because now they're way more expensive. Well, we don't want to have to do that. Let's go back. Can we just have the kids do it again? Like, this was great. Like, we had $1,000 phones. This was amazing. And so it's not that people don't care about it. It's more that people don't care about it whenever it comes at the expense. Or sorry, I don't care about it. It's not that I don't care about it. It's that I don't care about it whenever it comes at the expense of what I am paying for. Does that make sense? I think this is a much better way for me to explain it.
And I said this earlier, and I'm just going to reiterate, because it seems like that's the point we're at in the video. We don't care. Your comfort level and your morality only matters as much as your wallet. And what I mean by that is that you're not going to choose to buy the iPhone that is more expensive and made by people who are being paid properly versus the iPhone that is hundreds of dollars cheaper, made by labor that's not getting paid enough, and as far as you know, you don't care. You just want to pay that cheaper one. You know what I mean? Like, it's not rocket science here. I think very few people are going to choose the more expensive one because, most people's moral high ground doesn't go that far. Now, don't get me wrong. Doesn't mean you might not complain, and there are some people that will do it. But the reality is, we're all like everything that all these people are complaining about when it comes to like the streamer comment and taking it out of context. They're all complaining about an individual or individuals in the way that they technically are complaining about themselves. They don't realize that they're the same way, in terms of how they look at life and what they do. They don't get it. Like that, we're all the same. We're all creatures of comfort, and we all have limits on what comfort we'll give up and stuff like that, depending on the situation. And complaining about streamers and this whole video, complaining about the stress of being social and stuff, and then being mad at them. The reality is this: they have every right to complain. It doesn't mean you have to listen. You could totally ignore it, and you could even retaliate and make fun of them. That's fine. But excuse me. But to completely dismiss their feelings, I think is completely wrong. Because at the end of the day, everybody's lives suck for some reason. Now, what might suck to them might not suck to you, and then we could get into the whole aspect of money again. But that's that's all it comes down to. Like, we're all the same. I think he's right. I think in a better world, if we could let everybody complain without having like horrible retaliations, that would be nice. I think I don't know their names specifically, but Abba or Preach or whatever had said, like, if you have a super terrible job that pays terribly, you should be allowed to complain. I agree as well. I feel like you should be able to, but at the end of the day, I mean, I'm a firm believer that kind of like what Asmond said with the teachers' pay being doubled. I feel like we're at an impasse where jobs that can't be modernized yet by robotics, AI, whatever the case may be, and need to be done physically still, at some point they just need to be paid more. Like, and I think that there needs to be more respect for those kind of jobs, because it's crazy. Like, if you go on TikTok or something, you see all those videos, and I'm not going to get into the whole woke woman talk or whatever, but you see a lot of those videos of women who claim they don't need men at all in their lives. Like, they think that men could be completely erased, from existence, and the world would be fine. And the reality is that those crazy, brave, strong men that do things like construction and plumbing and and I'm talking about the regular guys, but also the crazy guys that go up on the towers and the boonies in the middle of nowhere to make sure like the single great tower is working, or the guys who have to go through and clean like the main output valves of a city sewage system or something. I mean, those guys are the real heroes, and they should be praised every day for what they do. They should be paid double, triple. I would not even be upset. I wouldn't care if those guys were making $200,000 to $300,000 a year doing what they do, because most people don't wake up and go, I want to be waist deep in shit for 9 hours a day, or I want to have a chance to lose my life, protecting someone as a cop, or I want to physically keep my body, max spec constantly every day and wait for fires to happen and then run in and have the potential to die while saving someone. Nobody wakes up and does. Some people do, but nobody really wakes up and does that. It takes a special breed of people. So this whole like hating on streamers and hating it, taking Hassan's word out of context, and then basically what like all Asmond's takes, I think he was right. I think he was right on pretty much all of it. I don't think he was wrong at all. And It's a shame. This is all coming from a person who is a lowbie streamer who basically just, I wanted to give my opinion because I think it's important. I don't have billions of dollars or millions of dollars sitting behind me, to have these opinions. I'm just looking at this as a person who does what I love to do, and I really do enjoy it. And I just feel like people in general are out of touch. I've noticed that we've been throwing that phrase "out of touch" around a lot lately on the internet, but I think it's true. Most people really are out of touch. I think people need to wake up and realize that it's just hard for everybody out there. Yes, some people have it easier with money, whether you're a streamer, you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're a celebrity, whatever. But life's still hard. Everyone has a family. Everyone has friends. Everyone has enemies. Life's gonna always be life, That's why they say, don't take it too seriously because nobody gets out alive. It's super true. But anyway.
For the record, again, I agree with the fact that tipping culture is bullshit. This is working in the fast food industry whenever I was an undergrad. I don't think it's fair to say what you said because it insinuates all or most waiters are entitled to tips when a streamer your size makes a comment of the clip. Okay, but I just want to make sure that I'm very clear about this. Anytime that a streamer acts like they are entitled to being paid for streaming, I will shit on them. And clip it. You can save that for 5 months from now whenever Hassan says this and then I defend him, okay?
Since starting streaming, I love doing this. I really do. I've had some really good days chatting with people and so on and so forth. Obviously, doing something like this, especially now that I've made it full-time and this is what I want to do, obviously money is in the background. Any streamer would be lying if they didn't tell you that money wasn't somewhere in their head. You don't have to be his level. But it's there. Money's there. And I think it's funny. I've had a few people say they wish they could sub or they wish they could donate. And I just tell them don't worry about it. I just say it is what it is. All you need to do is show up. You being there watching the content, even if you don't have a sub or anything like that, we'll make money off of you. That's how that works. That's part of the reason why it's all about views. It's all about numbers. It's all about getting people to be there. If you had 1,000 people there and not a single one subbed and not a single one even followed or anything, it's irrelevant. The streamer's still going to make money. He still appreciates you being there. Expecting people to give you money is a terrible thing. It really is, especially in this line of work. If they want to, kudos. That means you're doing your job really well. But if not, then there's a problem. But yeah, he's totally right about this. Anybody who goes on, and I hate that too, because you'll see streamers that'll have so many things on their stream about donating for a new computer or something like that, or they'll have their thing be pushing about how they need this, or I've seen streams, I've seen some that were I need to pay rent, so donate for this. That's pathetic. That's pathetic. You should be doing this because you love it, and then everything will come because of that. Excuse me. I swear I wish I wasn't sick right now. But yeah, he's totally right. It's not even worth the time to expecting to be tipped. It's the same thing. When it comes to this culture, I just prefer waiters to get paid a full wage. And yeah, I think it should be more than minimum, to be honest. And stop having people come in and having to pay the portion of the waiter's, salary that the restaurant doesn't want to pay. But conversation for another
reason.
And also, by the way, I want to make sure that I'm being consistent with this. I feel very bad for you, and that really sucks. But I don't care whenever it comes to my money. My sympathy for your problem ends whenever my wallet opens. I care. I sympathize with you. It sucks. I definitely get it. but I don't care enough to give them money.
Literally what I just said like 20 minutes ago. That's how most people are. You care, you have sympathy for anything, like whether it be a job or somebody's relationship or their family problems, whatever the case may be. You care, you're sympathetic, you're empathetic, you're all these things. So true. And he's still, in case it's taken out of context, depending on how I edit this, because I am no editing wizard, he's still referring to like the waitress stuff like that. But it applies to like all of life in general, so it doesn't really matter. Our care as humans ends when it's time to pay. When it's time to pay, we look at things completely different. This goes back to like emotional arguments and stuff like that. Like, your caring is an emotion. Once you take that out, you're gonna go back to logic when money comes into play, unless you're like drunk or some other bullshit. So when that happens, your caring will end when the wallet opens, and he's totally right. You're gonna go from the sweet level person to like, okay, what am I really doing here? This is, this is money. This is the hard stuff. We gotta actually be smart about this. Totally right. This pretty much applies to everything. Now, obviously, it doesn't apply to 100% of people. There are a small fraction of super generous or stupid people or people that just don't care in terms of money. They're very few and far between. They do exist, but for the general public, I think this is true. The moment your wallet doesn't open, and he said it like perfectly, chef's kiss. You don't care.
Like, you're not going to get sympathy from people that don't understand your experience, because streaming is like such a unique experience. And this is what I was saying. Like, remember what I've told people like many times, like, I think streamers make a big mistake treating their chat like a diary. That's exactly what I mean.
Okay, I had to rewatch that because, I had a brain fart. He's totally right. Streaming is a unique experience that you just can't. If someone hasn't done it and they haven't done it for a long period of time, they'll never understand. They'll never, there's already been so many conversations in my life that I just chopping block immediately because of the fact that the people I'm telling you, like talking to it about or whatever, I realize they'll never understand. They just won't get it. They just won't get it at all.
Where were they wrong? I think that they're wrong that... I think that they're wrong that it's a good thing that people don't care. I think that people should actually have some degree of empathy for the way other people feel. And I think the idea of invalidating other people's problems in life because you view their life situation as being advantageous to yours, I think this is a very toxic mindset to have. And I think this mindset leads to a lot of resentment. And I think you can see that all the time. And you see that with like girls, for example, that are like constantly resentful towards like men. I think this happens all of the time. And I think in general, you don't have to necessarily think that somebody is right, but I think that it's reasonable for you to understand why a person feels the way that they do and not to invalidate the way that that person feels.
I think this is a good ending point for the video. I agree with him. Like I said earlier, I feel like he's totally right in the sense that we would be better humans if we just were able to understand where people were coming from. It's not to say that you have to accept it. It's not to say that we're trying to like sympathize with millionaires or lessen our own life problems and stuff like that. It's just there's already a lot of hate going on in the world right now. Like whether excuse me, whether it be online, country to country, whatever the case may be, there's already a lot of it. And everybody, as I've said before, everybody has a hard life one way or another, whether you're rich or you're poor. Money does solve a lot of problems, yes, but you could still have a hard life. You could still be lonely. You could still be depressed. You might have all the money in the world, but maybe your lover died a couple years ago, or your kids died, or there's so many variables that make it so that just that constant theme of like, oh well, you have a million or you have millions of dollars, you're okay, shut up, doesn't really apply. Like, obviously there are millionaires that are genuinely happy, who have very little problems, and they're set where they are. That obviously they exist, but they're probably few and far between. Because we're human, we're complex, we're hard to please. You look at a character. Trying to think of a very unrealistic character. I don't know much about Jack Reacher, for example, but like you look at him, he's like mythical. Dude doesn't need money. He's decked. He's a hobo. He travels around saving people from situations. If everybody could just be like that, the world would be an amazing place, like morally, and so on. It's crazy, but we need to be more, like Asmond's saying, we need to be more empathetic. We need to be more realistic. We need to come to terms with ourselves as humans. We're all users. We're all consumers, especially if you're, first world. We're all privileged in one form or another. I wanted to make a response video to some of the points that he was pointing out, because the reality is, I just think that he was right. I think he got way too much fight back and pushback from people that either had emotional points or people that were too concerned on monetary. Like, they were too concerned about, you have no right to have an opinion because you're rich. I just don't think it works that way, and it's coming from someone who's a lowbie streamer. Like I said before, I've said it at the beginning, I don't have a lot, and money wise I'm okay, but not super good. I still believe pretty much in everything that he says, meaning that what he's saying is right. Like, it's not a matter of money or emotions. It's just not. People just need to get their shit together and realize that we're all people and we all have problems, and being mad at someone like him or Hassan or whatever, YouTubers, it's not going to make your life better. You got to go out there and make your life better yourself. You know what I mean? That's all I wanted to say on it. I want to thank Asmond for making this video, and Preach and Abba, basically like doing what they do. Just really wanted to get my opinion out there as a lowbie nobody. I'm sure this video probably won't get any views at all, but since my YouTube has been like shadow banned forever. But yeah, we all need to change, and like Asmond, 9 times out of 10, he does a really good job of being right. He just does. It's kind of annoying, and I say that because there's a lot of things I dislike about, things that he says. But that being said, he's still right a lot. So, anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate anybody who watches this. Let me know in the comments, man, what you guys think. Like, it'll mean a lot to me. But anyway, I'm gonna sit here and dwell on some of the things, in this video. See you guys later. Peace.